This is Mentally Dope. Join us, Charmaine and Jasmine, two Black licensed therapists, as we build a bridge between mental health and Black culture. Come on, it's gonna be dope.
What up, what up, what up? It is a Stay Mentally Dope time. We are back with another episode. As you can see, we are starting off on the struggle bus. But we're going to get together because that's what we do. That is one of the beauties of us being able to have this space and this time to be able to, me and Jasmine be me and Jasmine. We will bring all of the Stay Mentally Dope stuff, but we're going to do it with a little jokes and humor along the way because that's what we do. If you clicked, which I mean maybe you did, maybe it's just running through because you're watching a bunch of episodes. Never know. But in this particular episode, we are talking about one of the iconic movies of the... What year did this movie come out?
1997.
Oh, okay. Of the 90s. One of the most iconic movies of the 90s, and one of the things that we continue to this day to use this as a reference, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in like not so good way, how Stella got her groove back. And I will say that, like, of course, like, you know, we know the references. It's normally used for an older woman dating a younger man. Like, okay, Stella. Y'all know we do that. There she go being Stella. We also use it for anybody who is out, like needing to have fun, who has not been having fun for a while. Like, go ahead and get your groove back, girl.
It's very cultural.
Yes. So it has become a cultural movie. But me and Jasmine were also discussing, like, watching this movie into adulthood and watching it again from a therapeutic lens took me a different way that I don't remember taking it in before. So what do? We bring it to y'all. So that is today's episode. We are talking about, I'm be honest, it was so much. We're going to break it down in two parts. So this first part, we're talking about how Stella got her groove back, and we are talking about, like, let's be honest, the strong Black woman complex of Stella.
Absolutely. And you know, if the 90s were a little more accessible, Stella, she could have therapy. If we had therapy, maybe it just wouldn't look like it looks. You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't have been a movie.
I mean, we had therapy, but we did not have therapy.
Exactly.
Yes.
So say that for the people in the back. If you have a resource, but it is not accessible, or there's a stigma that prevents people from going to get it, you really don't have anything, do you? Okay.
Makes sense. And y'all know we like to say, it all goes back to slavery. Okay.
There's a lot. We're not going to go into that.
Just saying.
But
just put that out there.
Surely you've seen this movie. If you haven't, go watch it. It was free. I watched it on Tubi, I believe.
Me too. I did.
Right.
I watched it free on Tubi. Tubi actually had a whole bunch of good movies on there. Just saying.
I don't know how they got what they got, but
if you're like us and you have not sat down and watched this movie as an adult with an adult lens, I would love for you guys to even just pause, watch it, and like follow along with us in this conversation of like what you felt watching Stella in this journey. Because it was honestly a journey.
It was a journey. And y'all know we got questions. That's going to be for the next video because I got a lot of questions about some things. But if you didn't, I'm going to just give you a quick overview. Okay, let's say you're just like, I don't even care. Just tell me what it's about. So this 40-year-old Black woman is a high-powered business exec. She's a stockbroker, I believe. She is divorced. She has a kid. I don't know, did you ever find out how old Quincy was?
I think that he was like 14 or 15 because he was learning how to drive.
Teenish. Okay. And she sees a commercial that kind of calls her name and speaks to her, and she feels like she has to go to Jamaica. So she goes to Jamaica with her homegirl. That might be why everybody goes to Jamaica now, because the 90s was the boom, and we always like Jamaica is the place for us to be. And she meets a young thing, 20, and falls in love, and it's a whole thing, right? It's bumpy, it's interesting, all these things.
Yeah.
And so that's the short of it.
Yes.
But through that, it's really about, like, I guess it's supposed to be like a love story and all this, but it's really about Stella.
Yeah.
This is really Stella's love story. Truly.
And it's like maybe her love story with herself, not even just her love
saying.
story with the character. So if we talk about Stella, who was played by the ever so fine Angela Bassett, I don't understand the life of me how Angela Bassett is just as gorgeous as she is, and how she still looks, because when I watched this and I was like, oh, this is the 90s, and Angela Bassett still looked the same.
How could you tell?
But she still looked the same when I just saw her recently. And I was just like,
how do we know it's the 90s? How do you know she didn't come from 2024 and record it and then just put it back there?
I don't know what happened, but Angela Bassett is fine.
Some people just, some people just fine. And that's it. They're going to be fine from the beginning to the end. And that's beautiful for them.
Yeah. Wait.
I hope that I can do that too. But some people just fine, and that's it. And it's just the genes is good. They cooking with a lot. All right.
Yes, I think that there's like two types of gems. There's the ones who are just fine, like fine, and then we also have some hidden gems that to me they get better as they age. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but yeah, they turn to like 30 and 40, and I'm like, dang, they look even better as they get older. I don't know.
Tangent, we're going off, but it's okay.
But just saying, like, we know that especially in our culture that we got some of them.
And also, melanin is really, it does a lot for us, and God bless it. So,
Angela Bassett's fine. That's it.
And we can spend all day.
Yes. She goes to Jamaica. Everybody else see that she's fine, because, she's just fine. But we're also going to start on the fact of, like, what it was for her to be a strong Black woman. Once again, this is us in our culture. This is something that we still to this day struggle with a lot. Blamed it on slavery. Struggle with a lot of it goes into almost into our DNA. It's engraved in us about what things it means, as far as our baseline is a lot higher than what any other baseline would be. If this is like the normal baseline, the baseline for like Black women is up here to me sometimes. So her overachieving is like big. Like we said, she was a stockbroker. Baby had a nice house. Like, the house was amazing.
Nice job.
She had a nice job. She was like a
nice
boss.
Car.
A boss at the job. She like
she was a boss, or she was a boss?
She was a boss.
Okay.
She was a boss. You can also tell that she was very, I don't really know if I saw a lot of Black coworkers of hers, so like that was a thing as well. Something else is like, a normal thing about like being like one or two or three in your
few.
Yeah, at your job. So signs of her being a strong Black woman, you see these things from the beginning. It starts with almost starts instantly with her being at work and her working out, but then also being at work, like trying to like balance things, her
running. The very first thing, she's running, and I don't know what it is about the strong Black woman, but it's something about running and that they always kind of go together. There's always like some kind of thing they're making happen. If you notice that, any runners, see if you identify with also being a strong Black woman. See if there's some overlap. I have to do some research.
I don't know, because that ain't my ministry. Yeah.
Oh no, that's not for me. But I will, before we dive deep in, I'm gonna also say like kind of an overview of the strong Black woman. But let me also say that I'm gonna use that interchangeably with trauma and like with somebody who has like perfectionistic tendencies, because it is listen, they're all different labels to say a lot of the same things, we'll say, right? Like these are all words and labels that we use to be able to talk about an umbrella thing, but it's all part of the same thing. If you have strong Black woman syndrome, if you struggle with that, you also have some trauma in your life.
Yeah.
Remember, trauma doesn't mean like something terrible and horrible and awful. It just means something that was too hard, too big, too much, too quick, right? Yeah. And that can happen at any time. And if you're a Black person in America, how can something you've been through not fit that definition? So if I say strong Black woman, or if I say, somebody who's traumatized, or somebody who struggles with perfectionistic tendencies, because if you're perfectionistic, I hate to tell you, you also got some other stuff going on with you, right? Yeah. There's some trauma, there's some anxiety. And so it all looks kind of the same. So we're going to kind of show you the textbook of why she's a very good example of this complex.
I love that you brought that up and that you're able to break that down, because yes, when I say strong Black women, we do want to highlight, and thank you for saying that, we do want to highlight that there's roots to that. We don't just like wake up one day and be like, this is what I want to be. That's not it.
No.
There is generational, like there's potential trauma generational trauma, potentially vicarious trauma there. Which, of course, like I know that we've highlighted before about being able to highlight generational trauma is trauma or expectations that have been passed down from generation to generation. This is how your mama act, or this is how your grandmother act. We've definitely, like, I know that we have all probably encountered someone who says, well, Big Mama did this and she never asked for no help. Big Mama has 6 kids, like, did all these things. She never asked for no help. Like, even though it was not like boss as far as a job, Big Mama was like the idea of what a strong Black woman was. And then like we identified that as like the goal of how we were supposed to act.
Yeah.
No rest, keep working.
Yes.
Watch the kids.
All the things, but we mixed that up with she had to do that because she didn't have the help versus like I get to do that or I want to do that, right? Yeah. She didn't have a choice, but we're making her lack of choice our goals.
Yes.
And that is a little bit mixed up, right?
But I think that it's also when you add on the element of anxiety, because there is also the element that even though I technically have a choice, do I have a choice? You can tell me hire somebody else. You can tell me put the job down. You can tell me take a vacation. You can tell me these things. But if anxiety in my mind is telling me that I can't, anxiety, which will tell us that things are like more prominent than what they are, anxiety will tell us if you take off work, you're going to fall apart. The job's going to fall apart. They're not going to need you anymore. They're going to fire you.
They're going to replace you.
Yes, all of these things. If you don't cook for your child every single night and make them a 5-course meal, he'll never respect you. Like anxiety will tell you so many things, which to me I absolutely hate. Side note, but also on task with this. We see so often on social media or with friends
Go on your tangent thing, girl.
Well, but we see this so often on social media or with friends where people will like tell women, especially Black women, stop doing all that. Girl, just hire the maid. Get the nanny. Like, don't cook every night. We say these things to people as if it's easy for them. As if
it's that simple.
Yeah, as if you can tell me that and I'm just going to be like, oh, yeah. You're right. I should take a vacation and walk out. No, baby. If it was that easy, I would have did it. But there's something tied to me already that's telling me I can't. Now, whether that is actually factual or like unfactual, that doesn't matter because my anxiety tells me that it's real and that this is what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And like Charmaine was saying before, first of all, if we stepping on some toes, hi, welcome. We love you for it. But she was saying the strong Black woman, the title makes it seem as though this is an issue that Black women go through and that's just how we are. But it doesn't address how we got that way.
100%.
Right? And so if you have anxiety, if you have all of this stuff, if you feel like you have to be perfect at work and in life and with family, it's because Black women have had to, right? It's not something that we just made up and it just came. It's because we had to survive, right? Go ahead. Everything goes back to slavery. Yeah. All the things. But again, it's not as easy as just like, oh, well, let me just break hundreds of years and generations of burdens and curses and cycles in my family by just being like, let me just do this thing. It's not that simple and it's not that easy. It takes a lot of internal work. And I know you see this in your everyday practice too. I can have Black women show up and come to therapy and try to do the work for them, and it is still hard. We're like breaking these things down in session, and some of these things are so deeply rooted.
Yes.
It takes time, it takes effort just to get Black women to stop what they're doing and to come and sit down in my office. I have some Black women who won't even come to my office because they have 10 other things to do, and they're like, I ain't got time to sit down and come and do this and do that.
Yes.
Right? So if you can't do that, if you're struggling with that, it's not going to ever be as simple as like, just do something different. No, you're going to have to do some internal work and fight for it and make it happen. Yeah. And move stuff around. Maybe you got to move the furniture around in there.
Shaking the table. But that is the hard part. Like you said, that this does become ingrained. There is roots to this. So we say all that to say that we want you guys to know that we understand. We're not bashing by any means. We're just giving context to what's happening in this movie and what we mean by what we say that she was the strong Black woman.
Absolutely. And it's not your fault.
We see it. 100%.
Please understand. You're responding to the environment around you.
And for some of us, this was taught the same way that like ABCs was taught and 1, 2, 3s was taught. Clean this house was taught. Like, raise your brothers and sisters was taught. Like, it was ingrained.
Absolutely.
So therefore, this was like conditioned. because that was just life.
Exactly.
And there's roots to this.
Absolutely. And let's not even get started on family. But let's go down
But
the
we
list
actually are going to
and
go
see.
into family just a little bit,
Oh,
though.
no, we are. But I'm just saying, like, the whole thing of it's hard for women to get out of these cycles when you're plugged in with your family, because the family would be like, girl, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? When we was growing up, mama did this and they did that. And you'd be like, I'm tired. I want to opt out. Yeah. And you have to deal with that friction in your family because you're trying to do something different. But also they stuck. Yeah. Where you guys started too. So it's a whole thing.
So we actually see that, though, in context of the movie. So getting back to some of the symptoms that Stella showed, we see that Stella has 2 sisters. Stella has, shout out and rest in love to Suzanne Douglas, and also Regina King. Absolutely loved Regina King in this movie. Like, I love me some Regina King. But Regina King was the younger sister. I'm not even sure who was older, Suzanne or Angela. I'm not really sure. But Regina King's Vanessa was her name. She was the younger sister. She was the never got my bills paid sister. She drove the EMT truck. And baby, listen, she had the people in the back seat on hold in the middle of it, like a crisis that on hold, funny. Talking to Stella like, girl, what you doing? Like, she was that sister, bumping like her music down the street in the EMT van. She also had like one daughter, I do believe, which was
at least one
yes,
daughter.
She had the one daughter, and then you also have the other sister who could have been older, which was Suzanne Douglas's character, Angela, who was the complete opposite. So we have Vanessa on one side who's telling Stella, go out, have fun, take care of me, but go out, have fun, do all these things, but like, let me have sex, let me wash the car, like, keep lending me money, but I want you to have fun, which to us sometimes can be like a little counterproductive, because you want me to have fun, you want me to go spend my money, but you also are kind of sort of dependent. So I can't spend too much or take off too much time, because not only will my child and my life fail, so will my sisters. So that's a issue. And then we have the other sister who is the complete
see a pattern here.
The complete straight scenario of you aren't doing enough, your life is incomplete unless you have a man by your side, and like, where's your man? And you need to have a man, exhausting. And like,
yes.
But I think that also for her too, it sounds like that she was really, really stuck in that pattern that we see has been a thing. The people there are some people, and this is not a thing, but not like a judgment, but there are some people who honestly and truthfully believe that women cannot withstand without a man, and that if you don't have a man, that your life is incomplete.
And I'm going to add to that. Agreed. But it's interesting to see all the sisters and how they all had a different trauma response. Yes. I don't know how they grew up. I don't know what happened. But it is very often that way. We have one who's going to show up and be like, well, I'm going to kind of be the mom, parent, sibling that's in charge and does all the stuff. That clearly, I was going to say Angela, but that clearly was Stella. See, now I'm confused because we got an Angela sister and we got Angela Bassett. But that was Stella, and then we have the other sister who's like, man, life's too short. I'm going to kick in. I'm going to do what I got to do. None of this stuff is serious, right? Mm-hmm. That was her trauma response, right? And we go to the other sister, and she's like, she takes a book from takes a page from Stella's book. There you go. And she's like very rigid and very tight, and things need to look this way. And if you veer off of that, she's going to tell you about it. Call you a hoe, call you a slut, call you everything but the child of God, right? And they all went their different ways with their trauma responses. Yes. And you can see them like constantly rubbing against each other, trying to figure that out and, I don't know, be together.
With you reflecting that, I did not think about that until just now in this moment. We literally, if you guys have not watched it, reflected another 3 sisters who showed up in the exact same way.
Look at that. Yes. It's as if it happens in our family.
Yes, because we had, in Soul Food, we had Terry, who was the older, like completely driven, and was also a divorcee. We had, what was Vivica Fox's character's name? Max.
Okay.
We had, I think, yeah, but anywho, the one who in between, who not really sure what she did successful-wise, but also had all the kids and wanted to be like her mommy. And then we had Nia Long's character, a Bird, who was, I mean, she had some goals, but she was a little bit more frivolous than the two, and like needed money and needed to be taken care of in that way. Just saying, like.
I just feel like if you relate, go ahead and let us know, because in families, everybody kind of goes different directions, and It doesn't mean people ain't going through stuff. It just means the way that they're holding it is different.
Yeah, which to me I think is a good point because I hear this all the time. People will say to me, well, all of us were raised by the same people. Understood. All of us were raised by the same people, same household, could have been. But people experience and receive trauma differently. People experience and receive attachment differently. So anybody who has siblings, I'm pretty sure that you guys can attest to this.
Absolutely.
That you guys could have been raised in the exact same household, bedroom side by side, same two parents. It does not matter. You can receive things differently, and it can show up differently in you.
Absolutely.
Into adulthood.
And birth order is a real thing too, right? Something that happens for the oldest doesn't necessarily happen for the youngest, and in the same way in all the things. So there's layers to this, okay?
Yeah.
And we don't know a lot of the background, but I know parents were not involved in that story.
We never saw them.
We never saw them. And she did say, I grew up poor. We didn't have no money. And that itself is enough to be trauma. Like, let's take out everything. Take out being black, everything. But being poor in America is enough to be trauma.
Yeah. So in this way, we see the roots of Stella's strong black woman. And then we see the behaviors as the movie progresses. We see her overfunctioning, trying to take care of everything. We see her overworking.
What does that mean, overfunctioning?
Overfunctioning in the sense of just like you're trying too hard to be in control of everything. I struggle with overfunctioning, guys. Also recognize that overfunctioning is for yourself. It's not for anybody else. Just throw it out there.
And taking other people's jobs. Something that other people can do themselves, you do for them as well. And you show up and make happen or compensate for them. That is also part of the overfunctioning. And we see that.
Yes, 100%. So we see her overworking. We see her overfunctioning. We see... So like I said, too, the hard thing about overfunctioning is that a lot of times overfunctioning is for yourself and overfunctioning comes out of fear. We don't always want to acknowledge it that way because a lot of times people, what I hear the most when people overfunction, well, is if I don't do it, nobody else will. We hear that a lot. When the actual truth is...
Who's going to do it? Well, then what? It's not going to get done.
Well, I got to make sure that all these things work and I got to make sure that everything's okay. When in truth, you need that feeling. You need that validation because it's you. So I'm going to make it seem like that you can't function. Most times in any relationship, if one person is over-functioning, there's somebody else who's under-functioning. So you need the other person to under-function because that's how that's how you thrive.
And that's how you get situations where, people who need other people to need them so that they can continue to play that role. And I think she was struggling with a little bit of that too. She did not know how to exist outside of the roles that she had. She was at work. She was a mom. Like she was the sister and the caretaker and the responsible one. And outside of that, the wheels didn't turn. She was struggling. Like she was very awkward and she didn't know what to do. And you could tell she got really, really rigid around the parts where... And I think that is another good way that we can tell, like perfectionism is showing up and the strong black woman is showing up is in those times where you're supposed to rest, things are unscheduled, you even have a chance to be impulsive or like be playful. You have a really hard time with those things. Yeah. And you could tell in the movie she had a hard time. Like there were times where you could just laugh and have fun or laugh at yourself. Like whatever that scene was with her and... We didn't even talk about Tay Diggs, but
with ice.
Yes, and she got upset, and I'm like, girl, you're in a tropical island doing all the things. You can't even have fun. She got the party. She's like this, just rigid, cannot open her mind to these things because for her, there's something more to that. I can't exactly say because I don't know her. She's not a.
I think that
she's a real person, but she ain't a real person.
I think that a lot of times for a lot of us, though, there is a sense of control and there's a sense of fear, because, like you said too earlier, to the point that you said of we don't know how to function outside of our roles. So if my roles consist of me being a mom, a sister, and like a worker, if you want me to do anything outside of that, I don't really know how to do that. You want me to like come play? Okay, that's not on my. Okay, so in my toolbox, I got mom, I got sister, I got like work person. There's nothing in my toolbox that says anything about playing. So like, listen, I don't know what to do with that. That sounds a little bit outside of my control. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to that by saying, y'all, we are dropping gems today. Listen, you need to go to therapy, but you also need to listen to us. So try to do both. But what I'm saying is like, the reason why people get that way and they struggle with those things is trauma, right? It's because when you're young, parts of you have to come online and be like, we got to be responsible. We got to take care of people, right? Because there was some kind of lack, or we got to show up and do this way because there wasn't a lack, and there wasn't time to develop the parts of you that are fun loving and want to be playful, or they get pushed down into the back. And so we turn around and we get older, and then we get to rest and we're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with myself because I never got to cultivate these parts. And I say that because in therapy for me, and I know it shows up for you, I have a lot of people in front of me frustrated, like, dang, why do I have to figure out what I like now? Why do I have to figure out what's fun for me now?
Because you didn't then.
Because you didn't get a chance to do it before, because you had to survive. And now we got to go back and like get that part of you online that is still there. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't go away. You have to cultivate it. And that is a very normal thing, especially if you had trauma.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I love that. And that's why I think that for her in this movie and for a lot of individuals, self-care is hard. Taking care of ourselves is really, really hard. And then we see in the movie when one of the tools out the toolkit got put down, her son goes to spend time with his dad, and she's and the son, which once again we talked about this too in Soul Food, parentified kids who were like taking care of the parents emotionally. Like he was not financially, but emotionally he was very, very concerned for his mother. And like, you know, he looks at his mom, like her son Quincy, and is like, Mom, please have some fun while I'm gone. Like have fun, which was like your child is concerned about you and your emotional well-being.
Yeah.
So she's sitting there and she's sitting on the floor, and like the commercial comes on that Jasmine said was speaking to her. Y'all, have y'all ever had one of those commercials that like, mine, this is my side note. Do you or do any of y'all remember, you remember that commercial? It was for like a college, and the guy would be like, what are you doing? Just sitting on the couch? You got no job. Where's life going for you? Like why would those jobs like call people out like that? But in this, like, not as invasive commercial, but the commercial is like talking to her of like, you need a break. You should come to Jamaica.
And then she starts to see herself in the
Yes,
commercial.
it was her in the commercial. Like her first impulse is to get up. She's dancing. She calls her best friend and she's like, let's go to Jamaica. Then she like reality sets in. She calls her back and she was like, ignore my first message.
We're not going. Don't worry about it.
Just kidding. Like, don't do that.
You should have gone with your first mind. Clearly, something in you was like needing this vacation.
Said so. But that also, so as strong Black women, most times they need two sets of friends. And in Stella's case, she had the best friend who actually was both of these. She had the one who called her out, regardless of what she did. We see this multiple times where Delilah, which is Whoopi Goldberg, would call her out and be like, stop playing with me. Like, you can fool everybody else. Stop playing with me. And then we also had the one who also called her out when she called her back and she said, I'm going to ignore that first message. We're going to Jamaica. You need that friend who catches you in those moments or can push you into those moments of like, we're leaving the house.
And who like knows what you need.
Yeah.
You know that she needs this. You know her. Don't let her go back on something she decided she needed in that moment. Yeah. No, we need this. Let's go.
Yes.
Make it happen.
Yes. So I think that was that too, that she needed someone that she could trust and that she could feel secure in, and who did not have those implications or that relationship ties from her sisters. She was there was not like the one who was like forcing all these things from her other sister, and not the one who was constantly needing her for something with her younger sister. She needed an outside friend who was just the friend.
Absolutely. There's no way it could have happened because, again, if you notice, she went on the trip. Her siblings, even though they were encouraging, that was one of the first things they were encouraging her to go take a break. It would have been complicated because then she would have been like, okay, how am I supposed to pay for you? How am I supposed to do this? You're judging me from going to take a break and I'm doing all this when I need to be finding a man. There was no way she was going to allow herself to do that.
But I think
she
that it was
that
also,
neutral person.
Yeah, and it was also because we knew that there were certain underlying factors with the sister. The one sister who was telling her to go out, have a vacation, that she deserved it, was also saying, fall in love, you need a man. And then you had the other.
She had an agenda.
Yes. Then the other sister, she also had an agenda. I want you to go out, have fun, but let me borrow your car while you're gone.
Yeah, but now I get access to all the other stuff, which again, gosh, I'm just going to say it again, is why you need therapy. You need somebody who is an agendaless person. Your family cannot help but have an agenda. They love you. That is the agenda. I want what I think is best for you.
Yes.
You need somebody
and sometimes
who's neutral.
There is a little bit of like, I want what I think is best for me. Just being honest.
Yeah,
I
why
mean,
not?
that
What's
happens.
best for us?
Yes, that happens. And it's not even always like in a mean way. It's just sometimes it is a
No, that's
little.
just how people are wired. They
Yes.
want what's best, and they also think about themselves. That's
Yes.
just how it
Because
goes.
we say all the time, like, I want you to feel better. But in reality, when you feel better, you treat me better. So therefore, it works for me.
Or I'm better when you're better.
Yeah. I'm happy when you're happy.
Yep.
So
all the things.
Yes.
So there's that. We noticed. What's your next?
I was gonna say too that we also noticed that, kind of like what you were saying earlier about like putting some of the things that she wanted and needed to the back burner, not being able to experience play. We do see a part of her in her brain that when she is able to talk freely, when she meets Winston and they're having a conversation, that one of the things that she loved is that she wanted to make furniture. Like that was like her dream as a kid. So I went to like design furniture. That wasn't practical. That didn't make enough money.
Nope.
There wasn't a line for me. So therefore that got pushed aside. We actually even saw in her house later where she had a whole workshop built according to making furniture. We just didn't do it because that was not practical.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to add something. I feel something coming up in my spirit. So if this
Let 'em use
feels
you.
triggering to you, go ahead and dissect it a little bit. But a lot of us are trading what was actually our purpose for something that is just practical. And I see a lot of Black women and people with cultural burdens do this, of just like, I got to do this. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to show up and do it because I have to, instead of being able, which again, this is a luxury. This is a privilege. I'm not saying it's not. But instead of being able to look inward and being like, what am I actually called to? What is actually fulfilling to me? What can I get excited about?
Yeah.
And that is also a trauma response, to only worry about the practical and none of the actual purposeful things in your life.
Yeah.
So,
Word.
take that, put that somewhere.
That's a word. And we even see that even when she got to Jamaica, she struggled with being able to relax. She struggled with with not being able to be set and be in control. Even like funny scene when Delilah, when she's like, no, let's go for a run in the morning, and Delilah's like, I'm going to breakfast. Like that was it. Like, and she was like, no, I have to be like rigid. There is this level of, yes, we can have discipline, we can have routine, and we're not saying anything's wrong with that. And yes, you can work out, whatever. But we're saying for her, it was the whole idea of she did not know how to cut it off. There was not a level of like relaxing. There was not a level of like being fun because that did not feel in control. And I have to be in control because I don't know what's going to happen if I'm not in control. So yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah. And which is not even to say these things are super automatic in us. She may not even be going through that whole list of things in her brain of it, like, I have to feel control and all that. Like, it is so deeply ingrained in us. It could just be automatic. She could just be like, well, I always run at this time every day. And like, I'm going to get up and run. And Delilah's like, are you missing something? We're in paradise. We going to get up and drink a Mai Tai and chill for the rest of the day. And it's the way that you really see the world and yourself is going to show up everywhere. It's going to show up in Jamaica.
Yep.
It's going to show up in Texas. It's going to show up at work, and it's going to show up at home.
Yeah, which is one of the things that I always tell people, that whole idea of, I just need to move somewhere else. I just need to go somewhere else. So like, I just need a vacation.
I'm stepping on my toes now.
I do think sometimes it is vacation, but do you know how to vacation? Or are you just going to take you and put you in a whole different environment? Is that what we're doing?
Oh.
Okay.
But yes, that is so, look, tell me if you're this person or not, but who are just like, I can only be free here. Let's go and be free here and then nowhere else. But then that makes the life that you're coming back to, it just makes it terrible. Like, you don't want to be there because you have to be so controlled and be like in this little box
Which is actually part
the
of
whole
self-care.
time.
Self-care is creating a life that you don't want to run away from. Like, completely.
Guys, just say it again. Just put some emphasis on it.
Self-care is creating an entire life that you don't want to run away from.
You got your therapist voice on.
I'm just saying.
Let people know.
That's the hard part. And I feel like that, like, I've had so many clients in that who have like, well, I just need a new house, or I need to move to a different state, or I need to move to a different area. And I always ask, and then what? Well, I just need to go. And then we go, and we're just like, life is still the same because you're still the same.
And we did not address the fact that they were having a fight or flight moment and they wanted to run. You just uprooted your life when you really was having fight or flight, and you needed to wait out the feeling until it passed, and then do some self-discovery about why you were feeling that way. Oops, my bad. All right, let's move on. So we can also see how she was, and like she was a little bit defensive. She did not receive feedback from people very well.
But I think that also goes back into, and like you said, it was very, very, it seemed like it was very, very ingrained, which I think it is for a lot of people. Being defensive is a trauma response. And being defensive is blocking out of whatever it is that is being said or being brought to me. Yes,
for sure.
I am protecting. I don't really want to do the whole vulnerable stuff. You're asking me to ask some questions. No, you're wrong. I'm right. This is a problem. That's not how you do that. We ain't talking about that. Like, whatever it is, because I'm cutting this off before it gets too deep. And that's where we're at.
But I think that piggybacks on some other things. So let me just put all of this in one ball. So we have the defensiveness, but we also have like this very critical side of her that is extremely critical. And you can tell it's not of just everybody. It's of herself. She holds herself to a very high standard. So there's that.
But her criticalness of herself shows in criticalness of others as well.
And that's really a word. If you have somebody in your life, and I'm speaking from experience, okay? The Lord has brought me a mighty long way. But I mean that to say, if you have someone in your life who is very critical, know that they are not critical just because there's something about you. They're critical because there's something internal with them.
Oh, 100%.
Which means they are critical, even worse probably than what you hear and what you see to themselves.
Which is not an excuse, though. Because for me, I can also speak the same way. Like, I've definitely known of a lot of relationships or even friendships where I have said that I have projected my own stuff on other people. Like me and you had those talks of like, I'm critical of you for this. And it's like, no, I mean, that's a you issue. That's not a Jasmine issue. And it's not an excuse.
No, it's
to
just
be
context
mean to anybody
why.
else. But yes, it is a context of like, what's happening here.
And maybe even like if you can afford some more grace for them. I'm not saying you have to, but if you can, that might be a thing of just like if they are picking and pointing and doing all this stuff towards you, I wonder what's going on with them versus you seeing a deficit for you. Yes. And that's really what she did all the time. She was pointing at Winston, okay? She was pointing at him being like, you're too young, you do this, you do that. Even her ex-husband was like, she can't do nothing if she's not in control. We just can't do it.
And she's stubborn.
And all of this shaming, like, even her going out of her way to be like, we acting like hoes out here. We are like, are we really sluts? Did we really use the word sluts that much in the 90s?
I guess so.
Boy, that's real. But it was a whole lot of that going on. And let's not even get started on the pajama party. But all of that, you can tell, is like very hard for her.
Yeah.
She cannot just be.
Yeah.
There's not a way that she's able to be non-judgmental, which again is
a reflection of her.
It's a reflection of her, and it's protection.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not judging and being critical and trying to make yourself improve all the time, then what?
Yeah.
Who am I really?
Yeah. Because then if I'm not just constantly picking it apart, then I have to deal with it. And I don't really want to deal with that.
Ooh.
I can pick it apart. I can push it around the table. But you want me to like eat it? No, I'm gonna put this broccoli over here and put this over here. I'm gonna spread it around all around the plate. But I ain't finna fool with it.
Something with it.
Yes, I can push it around.
I'm not doing the thing that I need to do with it.
No.
Which, like you're saying, it is digested. So, if you're thinking it, you're not feeling it. And us people who struggle with that.
Or also,
that's what
gives a step further. If you do go to therapy, which you should, we're plugging that. Because Stella needed therapy, all of us need therapy, all those things. But if you do go to therapy, mention it in therapy does not count as I process through that. I can't. That's one of my pet peeves. It grinds my gears when someone's like, "Oh, well, yeah, I told my therapist." That does not mean that you process this in therapy. You brought it up in your therapy that I have struggled with defensiveness or listening to people, and then that was the end of it. Yeah, you didn't deal with that in therapy.
Okay. She coming for y'all next today.
I'm just saying.
I ain't even going to go too deep in that because I feel some type of way. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Whew. Okay.
So.
I'm also say, I think this might be my last one is, Stella relied a lot on external validation.
Okay.
She needed validation for other people. Like, to go on the trip, she definitely needed Delilah to push her. But if Delilah did not make that okay for her, she never would have went on that trip. That's the first part. And you can tell by, like, the secrecy in the stuff, because when Winston popped up and she felt some kind of way and he invited her, she didn't tell anybody about it. She kept that all close to the chest, all locked up.
And see, even that one stabs me a little bit in my chest. It's the vulnerability. So you do have this person who's close to you that you want to validate your stuff. I get it. I called my people and I'm like, so what do you guys think about this? Hoping that they're either tell me it's okay or that they're going to be like, no, Charmaine, don't do that. Because it's the fear of actually relying on me. Ooh, okay.
Absolutely.
But then also the secrecy, because of the fact that, once again, that's vulnerable. If I put it too much out here and it doesn't go well, or it's wrong and everybody knows, I don't like that.
No. And if you notice, Winston said, I love you to her. She didn't say it back until they were at the party. And she was getting a lot of crap from some people. But then at some point, somebody was like, I think it was one of her sisters, was like, girl, do you? Like, I'm happy for you. And she got that validation. And she went to him and she said, I love you. She needed that permission. She could not. That's the thing that really made me sad. She could not listen to herself and what she felt, because she knew she was feeling it. She knew she loved him, but she couldn't say it until somebody was like, it's okay for you to feel that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang,
that's deep.
Dang. And I felt some way for Winston. I was like, man, that lady taking you through some stuff.
No. So, y'all, this was a heavy episode. I think that me and Jasmine both was like, let me jot this down for my therapist next week.
I'm just play. Here, can you watch this video real quick and we gonna talk about what we talked about?
Yes, all of it. Dissect it. There's nothing wrong with it. We are not coming at anybody from like a judgmental place. We're literally saying that we see you, we understand you, and we are actually sitting right here in the circle with you.
And if you want to change and if you want to improve, hey, we're here for you. Come on with it and join this journey, whatever stage that you're in.
Yes. So whether or not you at the very beginning and you just watched it and you're like, that could be me, it might be. Or whether you in the trenches with us, like, it's hard out here. It is, but we are working through it.
So in general, what we need you to do is work on staying mentally dope in all settings. Thank you so much. And so if your takeaway is go to therapy, go ahead and book that session right now. If it is start living in your purpose, hey, go ahead and make that happen for yourself. If it is just giving yourself permission to rest or stop or go on vacation,
have fun,
go do it. Get some play,
decisions.
some joy, some laughter in your life. Please go do it. And we will be here, as always, trying to help you and keep you mentally dope. Take care of yourselves, y'all.
And don't forget to watch part 2.